Hi, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Temple Israel. We are so glad that you are here with us this morning as we're celebrating Shabbat together, and of course, as we are celebrating Oliver Stern becoming a bar mitzvah. So here's the thing. We all know that this day does not look exactly like Oliver and his family planned for it to be. However, he has worked so incredibly hard to prepare for this day, and knowing that it wouldn't be exactly like what it was planned to be, instead, he has made a lot of different changes to the service. So really, in many ways, this is like the dream bar mitzvah for this boy, because he is so incredibly prepared. I will say sometimes Rabbi Michael and I, we tell the bar mitzvah, we say, like, okay, you're the rabbi for the day. So Oliver is fully the rabbi for the day. It is no joke with him, because the one thing that we have confirmed throughout all of our practices and learning with Oliver is that he wants to be in charge today. He has planned every single thing in this service. He is prepared to lead every little bit of it. So we're going to be gabbis. We're going to sit on the side just in case he needs us, but we're going to have our microphones off because we want to make sure that you hear this young man and the remarkable service that he is going to lead. So we're going to invite you, if you will, to get a little bit warmed up, and we are going to join together by singing the words of Modeh Ani. And if you'd like to follow along in your prayer books, and for those of you who are watching at home, if you would also like to follow along in your prayer books, you can. You can go to ccarpress.org, and they will have this exact same service that we are doing, all the same page numbers and everything. And Modeh Ani, our first song, is going to be found on page 68. Modeh Ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shehechezota b'nishmati v'chem la. Now, as our service continues, we would invite you, if you wish, we would love to have you sing along. We ask that you maybe not do like full voice, just to make sure that we are keeping each other safe, but behind your masks, if you're not singing too loud, we think we are going to be okay. So to invite Oliver up to lead us in our service, the first thing we need to do is the ritual of the Talit. And so we are going to ask Oliver and his parents and his grandfather to come and join us on the bima so that we can have them put the Talits on him. And the Talit blessing right here.
Ready for this? It's the start. Are Mom and Dad ready?
We are. All ready.
Join me if you wish. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hatatef v'tzitzit. Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. Our service will begin on page 170 in the Blue Prayer Book. May my life be one link in a chain of goodness as I say the prayers of my ancestors. Help me to recall their devotion and faithfulness, their joy and suffering, which are in every word. Holiness is my heritage. May I be worthy of it. May our tradition live in me and pass from me to generations I shall never know, enriched by the truth that I have found and the good deeds I have done. So may I fulfill my task on earth and receive my blessing. And when the service ends and the prayers have ceased, help me to bring their spirit into the world in which I live. May I love God above all and my neighbor as myself, and be a living witness to the truth that never changes. Tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani berov chastecha avo veitecha eshtachave el heicha kodshecha beyiratecha. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha umekom mishkan kevodecha. Va'ani eshtachave ve'echra evrecha lifnei Adonai osi. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim berov chastecha aneni be'emet yishecha. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Please turn to page 175 for the Birchat HaShachar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sech vivina lechavchin ben yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokeif kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten layaif koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir sheina me'enai, u'numa me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifara. Please turn to page 195 and rise for the call to worship. Lai lai lai, yalla 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 lai lai lai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvrei choshech, oseh shalom uvrei et hakol. Hame'ir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha berachamim. Uvtuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai kulam bechokma asita mala ha'aretz kinyanecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha ve'al me'orei or she'asita yefa'arucha selah. Or chadash al tzion ta'ir v'nizkech hulanu mehera le'oro. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer hame'orot. The world is sunlight, restoring the soul, rejoicing the heart, bringing light to the eyes. More welcome than gold, a Torah from heaven. I have no light to give the morning. My Torah, my special human gift, is words. As I bring my words forth from silence, welcome them, you who redeems the sun from darkness. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer hame'orot. We join in singing the Shema at the top of page 200. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Le'olam, Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol avavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alavavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'aderech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai Mi kamocha netar b'kodesh no ra tehilot osefele. Who is like you? Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? When Moses and the children crossed the sea, they sang to you with songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha netar b'kodesh. Please turn to page 205 and rise for the Amidah. Anananananana Adonai. Anananananana sfatai tiftach. Ananananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Anananananana Adonai. Ananananana sfatai tiftach. Ananananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah El Elyon Gomel Hasadim Tovim V'konei hakol, v'zocher hastei avot v'imahot, u'mevi ge'ula livnei v'neihem, leman shemo be'ahava, melech ozer Moshia u'magen. Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol terav lechoshia, mechalkel hayim b'chesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofe cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Mi chamocha ba'al gevurot, umito melach, melech memit, umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atah lecha chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. You are the open door that beckons me in, peeking around the doorframe, I begin to enter into your glory. You move me forward, O Eternal, to step beyond self-made boundaries. Lift my foot over the threshold that I might abide with you. In the house of the Eternal, I found my questions waiting to be posed. They filled me with wonder. Sit with me, eternal teacher, encourage my seeking. As I fill my hours with your mitzvot, so shall I be filled. Send me through your doors, stretching up to honor your name, sharing out this wonder, enriching myself in the giving. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, kishem shemakdishim oto bishmei morom, kakatuv al yad neviecha, v'kara ze'el ze ve'amar, kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech ol haaretz, Kivodo. Adir Adirenu Adonai Adonenu Ma'adir Shimcha bechol haaretz, Baruch Kivod Adonai Mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, V'hu Yashmienu, Berachamav le'enei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elochai Yechzion, Ledor vador, Hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid god lecha, ulenetzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu, mipinu lo yamush leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. So we'll take just a moment now and offer a prayer for peace with the words of Sim Shalom. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Sim Shalom. So this point in our service marks the halfway points, if you will, where we have done this the morning service so far and are moving into the Torah service. Now I want to say, Rabbi Michael and I have been rabbis here for
Long enough.
13 years.
Long enough.
I've been at Temple Israel my entire life, and I think that is probably more of the morning service than anyone has ever done at Temple Israel, at least in the past 41 years that I have been here. So it was amazing. I kind of want to do it over again. But you're fabulous, and we are going to move on. So Rabbi Michael, tell them what comes next.
First, just a little moment of awe for me, and then we'll get to all of that later. I want to update you on what Oliver has been saying and leading us in so that it becomes clear what he's about to do and it resonates with you, the amount of responsibility that he has taken on. We have been led through the morning service with extra blessings, I might add, according to Temple Israel's tradition, but not according to a traditional service, which Oliver has taken on. And in so leading us through these different pieces, he's basically explained to us how the universe came into being, who the great ancestors, the great matriarchs and patriarchs were, and what happened to us in Egypt, and then described our being liberated from Egypt. And now we are at the place in Jewish history that we are reenacting as the moment of revelation. And we've been redeemed. We've experienced redemption, but we've yet to experience revelation. And revelation is going to be brought to us by none other than Moshe Rabbeinu himself. Oliver, the bar mitzvah guy, sitting right here, he will reenact the ascent to Mount Sinai. He will receive the Torah from his family, and then, as it has been passed on to him, he will take the Torah, and as he has learned the Torah for so many weeks and months, he will then take what he believes is his understanding of the Torah and do what Moses did, which is to explain, teach it to all the people, and then give them a charge. So without any further ado, welcome to the foot of Sinai.
So one of the things that we do that is a little bit different at this service because of the pandemic is, since we need to be sure that we are physically separating ourselves, it means that Rabbi Michael and I are not doing the physical work of taking the Torah out of the ark. Now, for some bar mitzvahs, this would make them very nervous. As you can imagine, Oliver is not one of them. He is totally comfortable, but we would at least like to tell you what is going to go on so that we can preview. So in just a moment, we are going to have Abel and Savannah, his sisters, are going to help open the ark, and then his dad is going to be able to take the Torah and pass it through the generations of their family. Now, again, to be conscious of social distancing and keeping everyone safe, instead of forming a line in front of the bima, he is going to be able to give them each an opportunity just to be able to touch the Torah before it rests safely in Oliver's arms. And then when Oliver is ready to read it, his cousins Dylan and Chase Pines are going to undress the Torah. Later on, Morgan and Samantha Lips are going to come back and dress the Torah, all in due time. But first and foremost, we have to take the Torah out of the ark. So if we can ask everyone to rise, and Abel and Savannah, you are up, my friends. He's ready for that Torah.
My bad.
Romamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lahar kodsho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lahar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romamu. Ki emitzion tetzeh Torah. Ki emitzion tetzeh Torah. Udavar Adonai Mirushalayim. So we'll invite the cousins who are undressing it to come up and help him. Lecha Adonai hagedula v'givura v'tiferet v'hanetzach v'hahod. Ki cho b'shamayim u'v'aretz. Ki cho b'shamayim u'v'aretz. Lecha Adonai v'mamlacha v'minaseh lechol erod.
Put that somewhere. I can just sit here. Oops. Please turn to page 250 for the blessing before the reading of the Torah. And be seated. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz ve'haaretz hayta tohu vavohu ve'choshech al pnei tehom ve'ruach Elohim merachefet al pnei hamayim vayomer Elohim yehi or vayhi or vayar Elohim et haor kitov vayavdel Elohim ben haor uven hachoshech vayikra Elohim laor yom v'lachoshech kara laila vahi erev vahi voker yom echad vayomer Elohim yehi rakia betoch hamayim vihi mavdil ben mayim lamayim vayas Elohim et harakia vayavdel ben hamayim asher mitachat larakia uvein hamayim asher me'al larakia vayichen vayikra Elohim larakia shamayim vayerev vayivoker yom sheni vayomer Elohim Yikavu hamayim mitachat hashamayim el makom echad v'tera'eh hayabasha vayichen vayikra Elohim layabasha eretz umikvei hamayim kara yamim vayar Elohim kitov vayomer Elohim tadshe haaretz deshe esav mazriya zera Eitz peri, oh seperi, let me know. Asher zaravo al haaretz vayichen vatote haaretz desha esav mazriya zera leminehu ve'etz o seperi asher zaravo leminehu vayar Elohim kitov. Vahi erev vahi voker yom shelishi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. So we're going to invite John forward to be able to lift the Torah so everyone can see what Oliver just read. And this is a particularly cool Torah portion because it is the very first one, and so you'll be able to see that as his father lifts it.
V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Our Haftorah is taken from the 20th chapter of the book of Samuel 1, verses 18 to 29. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim, v'ratzah v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Vayomer lo Yehonatan machar chodesh v'nivkadeta ki paked moshavecha v'shilashta tered me'od uvata el hamakom asher nistarta sham b'yom hamaseh v'yashavta etzel ha'even ha'azel v'ani sheloshet hachitzim tzida ora l'shalach li lematara v'hine eshlach et hana'ar lech mitzah et hachitzim im amor omar lanar hine hachitzim mimcha v'heina kachenu v'avoach ki shalom lecha ve'ein davar chai Adonai ve'im ko omar la'elam hine hachitzim mimcha v'hala lech ki shilachacha Adonai v'hadavar asher dibarnu ani va'ata hine Adonai beini uvencha adolam. Vaysater David basadeh vayehi chachodesh vayeshev hamelech el halechem le'echol vayeshev hamelech al moshavo kefam befam el moshav hakir vayakam Yehonatan vayeshev Avner mitzad Shaul v'lo diber Shaul me'uma bayom hahu ki amar migrehu bilti tahor hu kilo tahor vahi mimacharat hachodesh hasheni vayipaked mekom David vayomer Shaul el Yehonatan beno medua Lova ven Yishai gam temol gam hayom el halachem vaya'an Yehonatan et Shaul nishal David meimadi ad Beit Lachem vayomer shalchini na ki zavach mishpacha lanu ba'ir vehu tivach li achi ve'ata imatzati chen be'einecha imaltana ve'eret etechai al kein lova el shulchan hamelech. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol haolamim tzadik bechol hadorot ha'el hane'eman ha'omer v'noseh hamdaber kayim shekol devarav emet v'tzedek al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al hanvi'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Likdusha v'limnucha, Lechavod ultifaret, Al hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, Anachnu modim lach, Umbarchim otach, Yitbarach shimcha, Befi kol chai tamid, Le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. So, hello everyone, and everyone watching from home. And thanks for everyone just for being here, even if you're at home. I know this isn't the ideal situation we could be in now, but I appreciate everyone watching from the live stream. My Torah portion is from the book of Genesis, and in the beginning of the portion, God creates the world. And he did this by using the power of speech to create. On the first day, God created light. When he saw how good it was, he separated it from the darkness. And on the second day, God separates sky from water. The third day, God created fruits and vegetables across the earth. The fourth day, he creates the sun and moon to define day and night. The fifth day, God created fish and sea life as well as birds. The sixth day, God created mankind and land animals. And on the seventh day, God created a holy day and rested. This defined the days of the week. In the next part of the portion, God creates the Garden of Eden and puts Adam and Eve in it. He tells them not to eat from the tree of knowledge, but a serpent convinces them to. God punishes them and kicks them out of the garden. The next part of the Torah portion talks about Adam and Eve's sons, Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel both gave offerings to God, and God only accepted Abel's offering. Cain was outraged by this and killed his brother Abel. God gave Cain a chance to admit his wrongdoing by asking Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" But Cain denied the fact that he killed him by saying, "I don't know, am I my brother's keeper?" So God tells Cain that he knows what he did, and he punishes Cain for it. The rest of the portion talks about ancestry and how old everyone was. Today, I'm going to talk specifically about how God used speech to create the world. My Torah portion is the first Torah portion in the entire Torah, as you could probably tell when my dad raised the Torah. The first letter of my Torah portion is the Hebrew letter Bet, and that makes Bet the first letter of the entire Torah. As many of you probably know, Bet is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet that makes sound. The reason Bet is the first letter of the Torah is because it is the first letter that has speech in the Hebrew alphabet. Speech has been a very powerful thing in my life. I said before how God used speech to create the world. Now I'm going to talk about how we can use speech to teach, persuade, and hurt others. First, how has speech allowed me to be taught and to teach others? As a competitive swimmer, I've used speech myself to teach others. I've been swimming since I was 2 years old. This has given me a lot of experience with swimming, and I've been able to help other swimmers out. I know pretty much everyone on my swim team. In practice, whenever anyone would miss a drill, I did what I could to explain before it was my turn to swim. Whenever there were newer swimmers, I would do my best to help them out with strokes, other teammates, and drills. For example, when one new teammate came, I would try to talk to them a lot and help them understand everything. At swim meets, everyone used speech to help everyone out. When I was newer, swim meets would be very confusing. Luckily, I had made a few friends that I could count on to teach me how everything went. When there were new people on the swim team, I wanted them to feel like they could talk to me if they needed help. This was a prime example of how speech has helped me teach others and be taught. On the other side of things, though, I've been taught. For example, when I was a newer swimmer, I was one of the slower ones on my team. Many of my teammates helped me with drills. My coach taught me how to have a better stroke technique and helped me swim faster. During swim meets, all my teammates, coaches, and officials were very helpful to me as I was still figuring things out. All of this was through speech. Like swimming, I've always been very passionate about math. When I'm older, I want to be a college professor. As all of us know, math can be confusing sometimes. And as one of my favorite animators on YouTube quotes, I'm not trying to stay up all night to remember the quadratic formula. And I think teachers deserve respect. I'm definitely appreciative of all my math teachers, who have been able to teach me very well, even while quarantined and virtual. When I got confused, my math teachers would always find a way to explain it. And when I would get frustrated, my teachers would be able to teach me with speech. Once again, I have been able to teach other students. Like I mentioned earlier, I want to be a professor when I grow up. My parents and math teachers have told me that I'm good at teaching other students mathematical concepts. Whenever someone needed help with a math problem or concept, I tried to do my best to help teach others. A final way I've used speech to teach and be taught in my life is through gaming. As some of you know, I'm a Pokemon fan. In a Pokemon game, there's usually a storyline. You catch Pokemon along the way, but the main way to beat the game is by using your Pokemon to beat people in battle. When my sister and I would play Pokemon games, we would have to communicate. Sometimes she would play when I was in school and vice versa. Other times we would have to teach each other. I would teach her about what Pokemon were weak to others. She taught me about the steps of the game and how to do things. This meant we had to communicate effectively to progress in the game. In our Pokemon games, it can be helpful to meet up with people. As a lot of my Pokemon friends near me are introverts, I have to use my voice to get them to meet up with me. As one of the more knowledgeable people about Pokemon, I've definitely used speech to teach my friends. Not only does using speech help me communicate, but it benefits me and others. So all in all, these are the main ways speech has helped me teach others and be taught in my life. Now, what's an example from the world? Well, one of my favorite historic events I learned about not too long ago was from the American Revolution. And in the American Revolution, men did most of the fighting, while women mostly did home chores such as cleaning the house, making uniforms, and the list goes on. But very few women tried to pass for a man to fight illegally. However, also very few women chose to work as spies. The women I want to talk about today went by the name of Lydia Durraj. Durraj was from Philadelphia. She was a spy from the Patriots, or for the Patriots, my bad. One day, 2 British officers were conferencing in her house about how they were going to surprise attack Washington's army at White Marsh. She was pretending to sleep, but overheard their plans. After hearing such news, the next day when she pretended to fill her flour sack at the flour mill, she cleared the British outposts and ran to the army and told them about the Brits' plans. And with this information, the army was able to ruin the Brits' plans to attack at White Marsh. This is a huge example of how the British accidentally used speech to teach a spy, and how the spy used speech to teach the army about the Brits' plans. The next way you can use speech is to persuade. In my life, I've used speech to persuade a lot. First, I have definitely used speech to persuade my siblings to do things. For example, I remember very clearly when I persuaded my sister to give me her entire candy bin. Good times. But of course, I gave it back. Or when I would persuade my sisters to donate to tzedakah or help me do something. All of this was through speech, and frankly, maybe a little bit of bribing. And lastly, I have 100% definitely used speech to persuade my parents. Countless times, I have persuaded them to let me stay up later, or play my game for extra time, or procrastinate, or many other things I've used to my advantage, or maybe disadvantage. Without speech, I would not have been able to persuade them to let me do these things. Once again, now I want to look at an example of how someone used speech to persuade others in the world. Let's go past the American Revolution to segregation. I think Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches are fantastic examples of how speech can persuade people. If you don't already know, Martin Luther King actually came to our temple to give a speech. He used the power of speech to persuade people to believe in equality. Without MLK, we probably wouldn't be where we are today, and his speeches persuaded a lot of people. Finally, how can speech be used to hurt others? I'm sorry to end on a negative note, however, not everything can be positive. So first of all, people can use speech to bully. I think it's fair to say everyone has been bullied at least once in their lifetime. And if you haven't, I really don't know how. We all get that feeling like, I'm so dumb or I'm useless, and this is all because a bully can use their words to hurt you. Next one, I know everyone hates angry teachers. When you have a teacher yelling at you, and you and your friend look at each other with the most here we go again look ever, when teachers yell at you in class, their speech can hurt you, especially when a teacher calls you out. Their words can hurt you because they can make you think that you're not good enough. I think some teachers could be more effective by using a more patient and calm speech. And lastly, people can hurt you with negative reinforcement. If my Hebrew tutor were to say I was bad at Hebrew and I would not be able to learn how to chant my Torah and Haftorah portions, I would not be where I am today. Instead, my Hebrew tutor was extremely supportive and pushed me to chant the best that I could with positive reinforcement. And lastly, how have people in the world used speech to hurt one another? A good example would be through political campaign ads. You see, both parties, and it really doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, have campaign ads that say false information about the other party. When one political party says something that's not true about the other, this can misinform people and hurt the other party. I'm not going to go too in-depth about the details of this because this is a bar mitzvah speech, not a political debate. So seriously, next time you speak, make sure to choose your words wisely. God used speech to create the world. Remember, you can use speech to teach, persuade, and hurt, so be careful. Now I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone who has gotten me here. Mom, I can't even list everything you've done for me. From planning my birthday parties to staying up until midnight, helping me with school assignments, wow. You've always been there to help me. Thanks for your very hard work on planning my bar mitzvah. Thank you so much for always being such a kind, caring, and helpful mother. Dad, where do I even start? Thank you so much for always being able to work your magic with every computer issue in the world. Thank you for teaching me all about computers and math. Thank you for making the video montage and for being such an awesome dad. Moritz-Sivia, without you, I really don't know where I'd be today. You are the reason I really started enjoying Hebrew. Thank you so much for being so incredibly patient with me and always being kind. Thank you for always being ready to teach me and making me as great at Hebrew as I am today. Rabbi Amy and Rabbi Michael, thank you so much for all the support you guys have given me. And also, thanks so much for allowing me to make changes to the service. Thank you for teaching me all about my Torah portion and helping me write my speech. Grandma, thank you for always loving and supporting me. Thank you for always talking to me on the phone. Gammy and Papa, thank you guys for sponsoring the very enjoyable dinner last night and for always letting me visit Simi. Ava and Savannah, thank you guys for helping me in a second with the Vishamru and being great sisters. And Nano, I know you're not here, but you're at home. I love you so much. You're very cute and have been very helpful when I'm stressed. Shabbat Shalom.
First, I just want to thank everyone for being here today, those watching here in the room and those on the live stream. We feel the love all around us. Oliver, you did a wonderful job. I am so proud of you. I'm not going to be able to do it. We have a no tears pact, and I have already blown it. When reflecting on this day and your Torah portion, I couldn't help but remember one of my favorite childhood jokes. Many people in this room will remember it. You would call it a dad joke, but here it goes, coming from me anyway. In the beginning, there was nothing. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was still nothing, but you could see it a lot better. Oliver, today, with the power of your speech and your presence, you brought light into not only the meaning of your Torah portion, but also into your family and community. It has been a privilege to be your mom and to watch you grow into the young man that you are today. I have seen you take on many roles in your life with your unique, bright passion. One of the first identities you had is as a son. You've always been so very loving toward Dad and me, even when it wasn't the cool thing to do. I remember when you started kindergarten, parents were encouraged to visit their children at lunchtime. You always enjoyed when I showed up, and you were happy to make space for me on the bench among your friends and their parents. But as the years passed, I noticed that fewer parents were arriving at the cafeteria. Many other parents advised that I should relish the days you'd still let me join you at the lunch table, as surely they were numbered. I kept waiting for you to dismiss me, but you continued to be happy to see me. You have to stop crying or I'm going to keep crying. In the middle school, lunchtime parent meetings happen just one time a year. On that day, many parents bring lunch from nearby restaurants, but then are immediately dismissed by their kids, but not you. Just as when you were in kindergarten, you always pushed over and made room for me at the lunch table, lighting up my world with that bright smile and big hug. I'm one lucky mom. Oliver, keep making room in your life for those whom you love, regardless of what others think. Just as you have provided room for me at the lunch table, I know that you have made room at the proverbial and literal lunch table for your friends as well. I've watched you befriend kids of all backgrounds and ages and circumstances. Some have had a difficult time connecting with others, and you're always willing to extend a hand of friendship. Recently, the mom of one such friend reached out to me to thank you for your kindness. I was touched, but not at all surprised, when she told me that although her son was going through a rough time, your friendship made a hard situation less hard. You always go the extra mile for your friends, and though you sometimes give them a hard time, you're sisters, too. You host hangouts, ride bikes to friends' houses to give quarantine kazoo birthday serenades, or help with math assignments. Oliver, keep committing to your relationships and adding light to the lives of others. Oliver, your light has shined in other areas of the school as well. You've also always defined yourself as a good student. Although school is not always your favorite pastime, you give it your all, and your energy and passion for learning comes through, even through Zoom. As I've told you many times before, I don't care about the final grade as long as you're doing your best. Learn for knowledge's sake. Stay curious, stay passionate and illuminate for yourself the subjects that you find most interesting. However, you're not just an accomplished student in traditional academic subjects, but also in your Jewish studies. From a young age, I've marveled at your commitment to and love of your Jewish identity. While others love the gifts of Hanukkah or the fireworks of the 4th of July, your favorite holiday has always been Passover. You have begged to lead the Seder, and this year you did so with grace and deftness. You insisted we all up our Shabbat game by learning and reciting the long version of the Kiddush every Friday night. And your diligence and commitment to your bar mitzvah studies has been inspiring for our family. Not only did you learn Torah and Haftorah trope to chant your portion, you took charge of your service, requesting additional prayers and tunes to customize the day and make it more meaningful for you. You help lead children's high holiday services and sometimes serve as the Baal Tekiyah, the shofar blower. I hope you continue to bring your light to leadership roles here at Temple and bring your enthusiasm for Judaism to the community. Oliver, your light is shining so bright as a son, a brother, a friend, a student, and a Jew. In the beginning of our family, there was Dad and me. Then God said, "Let there be Oliver." And with your light, we are all much better. I love you.
All right, give me that back. Before I get started with my speech, I wanted to say thank you to Angie. You're what's best and brightest in our family, and I love you. I also want to thank Mom for being here today, and Angie's parents. It's not lost on us the blessing that it is to have you with us today and in our lives. With that, I wish everyone a good Shabbos, and Oliver, your bar mitzvah is one of the greatest challenges you will have faced in your life. In one way or another, you've been preparing for this day your entire life. Is it not the case that one of three things can happen when an event like this takes place? You could have been overwhelmed and given up. You could have taken the basic requirements of your bar mitzvah and met them. Those were two possibilities I did not see today. Today, I saw you rise to today's occasion to such a degree of success that you will never be the same person you were before. You have filled my heart with nachas, and I wish all parents with us today the same feelings. So now you are different today than you were before. You may be asking yourself, how am I different? Well, for one, today you're leaving behind a life completely controlled by adults. In some ways, you've been asking for this control for a long time. Now you have it. Now you must figure out and decide what kind of man you want to be. The foundation of your morality has been built through 13 years of teaching from your family and Jewish education. Now is the time for you to really learn who you want to be and what kind of man you will become. Thankfully, you are not alone. Your family, your community are here with you on this journey. You have an abundance of love and knowledge sitting here and at home celebrating your life. The beauty of today is this transition. You are leaving behind a life of childish things and beginning an equally fulfilling journey of how to truly be a good adult. Instead of sitting in class, you are now able to teach and be a model for others. Whereas before you worked to memorize, now you'll begin to understand deeper meanings and question beliefs. You were always a child who looked for the rules and followed them. Now you are free to create some of those rules and question those that no longer apply. Today you can fulfill more mitzvot than ever before, but some you have already been working on. Swimming is a great example of this. When you led us through the Ve'ahavta, the words, V'nishatam levanecha, and you shall teach them to your children, were recited. This verse obliges parents to teach children. Some have taught this means parents are required to teach their children Torah. Others have gone further to say this includes a trade or life-saving skill, such as swimming. So by learning to swim, you prepare yourself to fulfill this good deed of teaching. Taking this a step further, by working towards and fulfilling these good deeds, you're strengthening your connection with Hashem. A wise Jewish man once wrote, "With great power comes great responsibility." Oliver, you're beginning a new journey. The spiritual choices you will make will now move from have-tos to want-tos. You can continue to explore and fulfill your Jewish learning or not. I know you will be thoughtful, respectful, and balanced in your next steps as a Jewish man. As someone who has been learning and growing as a Jewish adult, I can tell you the rewards are worth the effort. Honestly, Oliver, your growth as a Jewish adult this year has been remarkable. Mom and I did our best to place you with the right teacher in school, but ultimately, the hard work that has brought you to this day was ultimately up to you. You did it. Watching you develop and grow into a bar mitzvah has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. It has been a blessing. I love you, Oliver.
Please rise for the Elenu.
No, wait a second. Hold on. We got more to say to you. You get to sit. Yeah. You okay?
Yeah.
Rabbi Michael and I both started bawling when you did, so we're like, who's going to talk first? I am very rarely at a loss for words, and I am struggling a little bit right now. So first, I'll say the easy pieces. So first, we have stuff for you. That's the easy part of what we get to do. So first of all, we'll leave it up here. Oliver, we have a few things. First, you signed this beautiful certificate before we all came in today that tells us that indeed today, Shmuel Levi ben Yochanan ben Nechama, that you became a bar mitzvah. Not that anyone doubted it, but you're official. We also hope, and I really, really mean it with this, that one of these days, along your Jewish journey, that you are going to continue and take a trip to the land of Israel, hopefully with us. That's what we'd like to do. You can leave, you guys can come too, I guess, but we would really like to go with you. And then we have also just a little gift from us. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to?
Do you want to say what the gift is?
The
It's
key.
the synagogue Maserati. The synagogue has a Maserati, and those are the keys. Your father oversees it. It's part of the committee to oversee the Maserati. First to sign on.
No, it's very hard because your dad quoted Talmud and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it's
so
a little
like,
bit.
what
a little
realm
bit
do I
hard
have left? Like, that's it.
to follow that up. So, all right. So here's the one thing that I want to say. So Oliver, your parents talked about this journey that you've had towards leadership in our congregation and in Judaism. And what I want to say is that, when it comes to becoming an adult Jew and someone who's responsible in the community, Rabbi Michael and I, we often try to encourage people along the way, but there are times where people feel like, oh, I should just, I should get to have this role. I should get to do this thing at my bar mitzvah. And never once did you or your family have any expectations that you should just be able to have some sort of Jewish role. Every point along the way, you said, I think I might like to learn how to play shofar. And we're like, okay. And you did, and were magnificent. And then when it came to preparing for your bar mitzvah, you wanted to do these additional pieces, and Rabbi Michael and I had to say, well, in 135 years of a congregation, we haven't done these traditions, and so we decided to study them together. And I just want to say that is so amazing, not only because that's really what it means to be a Jew, is to deeply study these traditions and decide for yourself what you want to take on, but the idea that at no point did you ever just assume it was coming to you, but you said, no, let's study this and take this on together. Honestly, you have changed the course of the history of this congregation. And that is really, really cool, because you have opened up doorways, not because you felt that you deserved it, but because you said, I'm going to take on this challenge. And if I can do this, maybe others can as well. Now, I don't know that we are going to be doing, Birkat HaShachar in every Saturday morning service. Usually, if you want a service like that, it's just, Rabbi Michael and I leading it for ourselves. But the fact that you took that on and were able to do it has really, it's kind of changed history for us. And that's a very, very exciting thing. And we are so proud of it. I don't know, you were probably not watching us during your bar mitzvah, but there were so many points where Rabbi Michael and I were like reaching out to each other, like, look what he just did. And it was so exciting. So we are not your parents, but we felt as proud of you, and we're just kvelling as if we were, just because you were just awesome.
So now I have to follow everyone else. This is very difficult, and I just want to speak to your parents first, and then I just want to address you as well as your tutor. Thank you. This is the kind of student that we dream of. Thank you. It was a privilege. Norma Milstein was my tutor, and I don't have hair on the top of my head, but I still remember the name of my bar mitzvah tutor. And I feel for Oliver, it will be the same as, I hope he keeps the hair. Yes, the genetics look good. But I do want to say that it is clear that, give him a break. It's clear that you have had an impression in the deepest, most spiritual sense of the word on this young man. And for that, I really commend you. His whole family spoke about it. He spoke about it. And for me personally, I understand. Kol hakavod. Oliver, when I was a rabbinical student, come on.
They're right here. You can just take one.
When I was a rabbinical student, I had to spend a summer at another rabbinical school. And I didn't want to go. It was the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, which is where the conservative rabbis go. And I had to take the train uptown every day. And as you walk in the doors of JTS, there is a sign above the door and an inscription in Hebrew. And when I saw you reading your certificate today, it reminded me of that moment where I had to get off the train. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to do it, but I signed on for it. And the words above the door were, V'hasneh eninu uchal, and the bush was not consumed. There are many different people that take on different elements in nature. And there were so many times when I'd have an appointment with Oliver and I'd be like, Oliver? Again? What does this kid want? What does he want to be, the rabbi? Well, now I know. You were very hungry, and you were the element of fire. And what I saw up here today was fire. Fire. The fire of Torah, the fire of the burning bush that doesn't consume, but gives light and warmth and joy and comfort and shelter. And it spreads, not in the negative way, although it can be that, just like speech, but it can be the positive as well. So it was a tremendous thing to be in the presence of your fire today, and to know that you are like a fire, always hungry for more Torah. And now, I think everybody gets it. You can be a college professor and a rabbi. I just wanted to let you know. And you can also be a rabbi and a cantor and a chazan as well. So I would say go for the trifecta if you want to be ambitious and if you have it in mind. You've got 2 rabbinic signatures that will get your support. And again, I just want to say to your family, to your teachers, and to you, kol hakavod, and thank you. Wow.
So 3 of the, when we talk about the power of speech, 3 of the most sacred lines in the Torah are called the priestly blessing. So normally we would be up here, we would get to give it to you standing close to you, but instead we are going to do it from here. But we'll ask if everyone will please rise so we can share this moment together. And if you wish, you can hold your hands out like this, just like the Levites did, and we'll say our blessing over you.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yechunecha. May God's light shine the way for you through the darkness.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasamlecha shalom. God's countenance be lifted over you, may be granted with wholeness and with peace. You did it. It was amazing. So
Mazel tov.
now you get to come back up here, and we're going to ask Abe and Savannah to come back and open the doors, and we will ask Samantha and Morgan to come and redress the Torah, and then Oliver is going to return it to the ark. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. Oliver, you're allowed to help them if you want to. Shalom, 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 shalom.
Stay standing. Please turn to page 283 for the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'teitz gedula l'yoser b'reshit, shelo asanu k'riyei ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo samchakinu kachem, v'gor aleinu k'chor amonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 287. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
So in this day of joy, we also take a few moments to remember those members of your family circle who couldn't be here with us today, those who have passed on and who we know would have been so proud of Oliver today. We're thinking in particular of Bernard Fitterman, of Frida Goldberg, of Lee Coach, of Maurice Sonnenworth, of Esther Steinberg, and Leonard Steinberg. So thinking of those and thinking of all we've lost, we join together in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294.
Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabba, ba'alma divra chirotei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam l'olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiram ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru Amen.
Ose shalom bimromav, huya ose shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimeru Amen. So as Oliver alluded to in his speech, we have one last roll for his sisters, and he is going to join them. So if we can invite the three of you up to join us in Vashamru and our blessings, which can be found on page 300.
First of all, I just want to take a moment to appreciate how hard my sisters have been practicing for this moment. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat la'asot et ha-shabbat l'torotam v'rit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam oti le'olam v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat la'asot et ha-shabbat l'dorotam berit olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat la'asot et ha-shabbat l'dorotam berit olam uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat la'asot et ha-shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Al Cain be'rach Adonai et yom ha-shabbat v'yakad shehu. And now we will say the Kiddush, the blessing over the wine. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Rei peri hagafen. Stay up. Yes. It's grape juice for any of concern. And now we're going to say the blessing over the challah. Ready? Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. All right, you want to eat some challah? All right, come here. All right, so I'll take some. Here's a piece.
Oliver, you have said the blessings. You have done everything just perfectly, even though I told you it wouldn't be perfect. It was after all. So you had to go prove me wrong. So my friends, we are going to say Shabbat Shalom, and we are going to sing you out the door so you can continue your celebration. Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, Yeilanu, 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 Ulecho Yisrael, Yeilanu, Yeilanu, Ulecho Yisrael, Yeilanu, Yeilanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Mazel tov, everyone.
You might go hungry, that's just it. I just want to The Talit's blessing was beautiful. Thank you.
Oh my God, so good. Oh, so good.
What did I give a guitar for? It's a joke. We should have, he wanted me to play guitar. He did such a good job. Yeah, he got his voice and he said, oh, anything. Oh, he was on fire, man. It was great.
I can't believe I cried during the parent speech. I actually was joking when I said I would, but I actually cried. All right.
Now it's like
I've never
do you
actually
wanna
also
take the
seen
picture
somebody
up
have
here?
so much fun while they were doing it. It's great.
all right. So where do you want?
I'm gonna put this down. Okay. I got too many stuff. All right.
All right. No, you.
Yeah, what do we do? We stand?
In the middle, or
You
we take our masks off?
Raise to the ankle, what's social distance?
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Nice. Step, one
Should
step
we
this
take our
way
masks off,
instead.
or if you guys are comfortable?
Nice.
I'm still smiling even though.
Yeah, me too. You can see it in the eyes.
Take our
though,
mask
so
off
it
and hold our
matters.
breath.
Yeah, should we do one with our mask off?
Yeah, 1 second.
1, 2,
Yeah,
3.
that's fine. Nice. And one more. Perfect.
Awesome. Thank
Thank you guys so much.
Oh my God, it's a pleasure.
All right.
All right.
Oliver, move your pen. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, we're
All
gonna do
right,
this
Charles,
way.
we're like,
Yes.
all right, should we
Very
stand?
cool of you guys.
I don't know where we should stand. All right. My two friends that came. No, I mean, you don't have to. I think just whatever.